reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. Hello everyone, and welcome to our Update 10 preview video. We go in-game with producers Aaron and Hannah, as well as Leo and Jonathan Rudder, aka Berephon, to look at what Update 10 will entail. Keep in mind this is on the test server, so they're still finalizing both the gameplay and the art assets.
So, with the Bells of Dale and the 3 subsequent raids, we're actually jumping forward in time to the end of the War of the Ring, and this is what's taking place elsewhere in the world with the Battle of Dale. The Bells of Dale itself begins right before the Battle of Dale, and as the Easterlings are approaching, and you have to clear a few raiders out of the town and then ring the Bells of Dale to warn the citizens to retreat to the Lonely Mountain.
Yeah. So the whole siege of Erebor, this whole battle here is, part of the War of the Ring. This is canon. This is from the appendices. These are all, we're basically linking you through to another view of the War of the Ring and, sort of why there aren't even more invading forces down in Rohan at this point. Right.
Good job, we get to meet Brand.
Yeah.
He already run off?
Yes, unfortunately, not all of his guys are cooperating in this build. As we move forward, we reach the first group of Easterlings, the Jangovar. If you're familiar with the Great River content, where we had a group of Easterlings called the Kundalar, these serve a different master.
So now is this, forgive me for not remembering here off the top of my head, is this the 6-man or the 12-man?
This is a 6.
6.
Yeah, this is the only 6. The rest are 12.
Right.
The first 3 pods of enemies we find in here are all normal warrior types, captains and warriors and archers. Later we'll get some new varieties of Easterlings. This is sort of just leading up to setting the tone for the first fight. Here. Oh, there we go. Alright. Run into a nice big old high guy.
Now, how do you pronounce his name?
Skriz.
Skriz. Yeah, I was going Skrzig. But I like Skriz better.
Like most black speech names, it sounds dirty. Yes.
Now, what's going on with this fight? He's summoning groups of ads?
Yes. At every 10% of health, he calls in some reinforcements. help him out. The proper strategy in this fight is actually when the ads show up to break off with the boss altogether and start fighting the ads, simply because you will end up with 60 ads on you otherwise.
Go to that thing, Chris. I'm doing a lot of admin powering
Yes.
to fast track this encounter, and all the other ones that we'll do.
Yeah, in this current build, the fight, if you went normal, would probably take about 16 minutes, which is 10 minutes longer than the enrage timer to reset the fight.
All right.
So,
How long do you envision it taking?
we've made changes. It should probably not take any more than 10 minutes, and the enrage timer is also 10 minutes. So, it should take
5 minutes 59 seconds.
it should be under
10 minutes.
There's also not as many ads, as many waves of
Yeah.
ads. So,
And how long? How long does the entire raid take? Or
It
instance?
should, on tier 2, it should take probably 45 minutes.
And are
So-
the square AoE effects on the ground placeholders, or are those new effects?
Those are actually new.
Yes.
Cool.
What happened in the past is that we had these circular hotspot indicators. However, the hotspots in reality are squares. So it
Okay.
was actually possible to be affected by the hotspot without realizing it.
Yeah.
So we added the square underneath to show the actual boundary.
Yeah.
So that's brand new for this update, is that we're giving you these new hotspot indicators. And the white ones are those that are beneficial to you, and the red ones are those that are basically detrimental to you or beneficial to your opponent.
Right.
It's always interesting every time that we do one of these preview videos. I always get some wonderful advice on how to play a better hunter in the YouTube video comments.
All right. Back here is an optional mini boss. His fight in this build is not completed. It's been made much more interesting.
Huh, that's weird. The hunter got aggro. How does that happen?
And the version going live, when Graz reaches half health, he'll actually summon in some shadow rats to help him, which is also sort of giving a little bit of a preview of part of the boss fight at the end.
Would you say it's foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing, thank you. Ha 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 ha.
Are there 4 of them? Because that would be amazing.
Actually, there are. Okay, in this poll, we're getting our first Jengavar Sorcerer. They're the Brotherhood of Nature. Their thing is to summon in pets, which they are either not doing or taking a long time to do here.
There we go.
Oh, there's one. Yeah. And they have staff attacks and some thrown attacks. Oh yeah, there we go. Much better.
That's a big bear.
That's a very big bear. The sorcerers also have the ability, as you can see there with that drop, to put a buff on their pets.
But don't discount the Jengavar squirrels.
I just was noticing that.
That.
They will gnaw you to death, huh?
Well, because the Easterlings are not directly evil by nature, but more deceived by Sauron, the sorcerers actually serve a couple of characters from lore and have learned their arts and are actually neutral by nature. And so we chose for the pets Lore Master pets. The bears, the lynx, the saber cats, hawks, but we didn't have anything small to use. So after brainstorming, we chose squirrels. Part of the story behind
shoes are
that
pretty evil.
is when Shadows of Angmar released, we had a furor on the forums about the fact that all of our squirrels were gray. Not knowing that in the UK, gray squirrels were considered evil.
Yeah.
Because
True.
they were transplanted and practically obliterated the red squirrels. So, our squirrels that the Jingavar sorcerers are summoning are, in fact, gray squirrels.
So I guess our next update is the Lore Master Red Squirrel Pet.
Well, I believe they do actually have a cosmetic pet.
Cosmetic pet.
We don't have an actual pet that's shooting. Of course, these regular squirrels are pretty harmless.
I'm looking forward to the ones at the end here, John.
Yes. Yes. Those are not harmless. In fact, they turned out so not harmless that in the final build I had to trim the number of them to some of them. Okay, I think, these sorcerers are Brotherhood of the Elements. All of their powers are elemental. They have powers that are skills that are fire, frost, lightning, wind, and earth. And Lars, that was just defeated, was the second optional boss.
I think I pulled them early by going too far in.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't have been quite so easy because in the new build he uses shadow damage now. Oh, here they go. So this sorcerer is Brotherhood of the Elements, but he summons elemental spirits in the form of animals. Got earth bears, fire cats in the first wave. And yes, the fire cats breathe fire.
I know, I am on fire currently.
Okay. About every few moments, a shadow rat will spawn and try to get to the gates of the tower. If 6 of them reach the tower, the fight will reset. They enter the tower and then go chew the bells down. So if too many fall, then you won't be able to ring them to warn the citizens to get out. There are storm squirrels.
I love the storm squirrels. They're my favorite.
Little balls of lightning. That's awesome.
They have the nasty effect, though, and they hit you. They have one skill. It has a random target, so they bounce back and forth between all the players. But here, too, it doubles the power cost of your skills, as well as debuffing you.
Oh, wow.
So I think I accidentally admin down in the melee there, the boss really quickly and didn't realize he was dead until all the bad guys were dead. Other bad guys were dead. So I'm sorry about that.
You know what? This is just adding to the suspense for players to see this live in game.
Well, he has like a vulnerable, invulnerable mechanic as well.
His mechanic, during the first wave, he's invulnerable to attack. Then the second wave, he becomes vulnerable, and he kind of bounces back and forth between those states.
So yeah, and that is brings us to the end of this instance. Let's just get it out of here.
Now, all of the chests are going to be loot sharing like the other instances, right?
Yes. Yeah, we'll use the remote looting tech moving forward.
Is that applied to the skirmishes now too? Because we in the patch notes there was a small thing that said skirmishes raids were updated, and then there was a list of raids that were updated, but there were no skirmishes on the list, so we were kind of confused if skirmishes were updated or not.
What's the question to clarify?
Yeah, we'll clarify that and get that answer to you.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. That's our
The
job.
ring has passed beyond my vision into the pass of Kirith Ungol. Dale has
All
fallen
right,
in the north,
so this
and the
is
survivors
a
of the
tiny bit of a
siege
time
are
jump. The
retreating
last
to
one
lonely
was right
mountain
before
with
the
easterly
Siege of Dale,
forces
and this
not
is
far
after the
behind.
Siege of Dale when all of the people are fleeing towards the Lonely Mountain. So we come up here, so we'll enter the clearing. And we'll see Brand, King of Dale, fighting off a few Easterlings. Doing a great job.
Was doing a great
He
job.
was doing a great job, and now he's been slain. And our job is to hold this clearing and allow the people of Dale to escape and flee to Erebor.
By the way, Chris, that was your spoiler warning, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, as Leo mentioned, this is a survival-based raid. So it's technically quote-unquote bossless. You are working against a timer, which is 10 minutes. So you have to survive against these waves of Easterlings for 10 minutes. And they are going to come out on a timer. However, you can speed up that timer if you're killing the enemies quickly. And
But there's
so
no way to
you
slow
have
it down.
Right. No way to slow it down. So they're going to keep coming regularly. So you can't just blitz through the first wave because you're just going to trigger another wave right away.
Right.
But you also can't just totally hunker down and wait because they are just going to keep coming. So it's really a challenge to find that balance. And then on top of that, the challenge mode for this raid is to kill 100 enemies in the 10 minutes.
Oh, so you're really trying to speed through everything then to try and get enough enemies out to hit that.
Exactly. Yep. And you're trying to figure out how to maintain a DPS for that length of time.
Right.
Right, so they all have effects that are going to stack up on each other. You're going to have some that'll heal, some that'll be summoning pets, some that'll be doing range damage. You can see these auras and effects going up. So the waves are getting randomized as well.
Yeah,
ground
there's
doesn't
a
look
bunch of
very
different
friendly.
ways. No, they are not. And there's one enemy, and I'm blanking on which one it is, but he gets stronger as you kill more enemies. So when the wave first comes out, you kind of tend to ignore him because he's not as strong as the other ones. But then as you start killing the other enemies, all of a sudden you start noticing that he's actually the strongest one out there. So you really have to be cognizant of those changes that are happening.
So are you thinking of, players having to know the mechanics like they would with skirmishes and stuff like that, so that, they know which guy to go for first? Because in that situation, you'd want to take him down when he's weak, right?
So it's all about communication and coordination, right? You need to learn what each of the groups do, and then figure out your strategy and how to communicate to adapt to them. So there's going to be a mix of finding ways to lock your enemies down, but also know how they play off each other and know what the dangerous combinations are and react to those. So yeah, there's definitely a learning curve for this. There's no question that players are going to need to have an understanding of it and pick it up as they go along. They can't just dive in and start killing things and expect to win.
Isn't that what hunters do, though?
That's what I do.
Again, if you're just trying to max out your DPS, you're going to die very quickly and painfully.
Sure are.
So a group that's going to be able to beat the Challenger, for example, is going to need to be tightly coordinated and have very high sustained damage.
Poor Hunter.
Well, Leo's a runekeeper, so he can't talk too much.
Whoa! I think we all know Runekeeper is the class that requires the most skill to play in this game.
Well, when you get that much aggro without really paying attention, you do need a lot of skill to survive that.
Yeah.
Leo plays the runekeeper tank. It's a specialized role. So each of these 3 raids is telling the story of the Siege of Berephon, and that takes place over the course of a month. So you're having pieces of it, pieces of the story as you move through it.
Where is the... Oh, has this changed? Can the way this raid
Well,
change?
we have our next deployment tomorrow, so it'll be updated tomorrow.
Oh,
I think you actually just finished the first wave. You haven't even started the encounter yet.
Oh, usually they appear before the last one is dead.
Yeah, you spawn them all at the same time.
So you see the UI popped up, and that'll give us 2 bars. A green bar, it gives us a timer, and the red bar tells us how many enemies we've killed. So it'll measure how we're doing in challenge mode.
It's just the prelude.
Right. So yeah, it's a little unmanageable because there should be 12 of us splitting a lot.
Right.
And they're only 5,
This would be
so.
a very busy instance with 12 people, their pets, That would be some wonderful
There is
chaos.
some more room. Yeah, if you cross over the river, there's a bunch of space. Not a bunch, but there is space.
So the JW Berry's goals with these raids, at least initially, were to make people think, were to push different mechanics and different types of reactions to spaces, and to recreate sort of the difficulty of that V1 of the Watcher, right? That really hard initial learning curve. But yeah, there's no central boss here that you can just focus massive damage on and then, get done in 60 seconds. Not going to happen. And I think that's the theme for all 3 of these spaces, actually.
All of us are stunned as we come back.
Yeah.
Aragon's looking at us like, what happened?
Yeah. Hey guys. The next one is called Fires of Smog, and this takes place about halfway through the Siege of Erebor, and takes place in a place called Raven Hill, which is actually a place from the book. And it's a southern spur of the Lonely Mountain. It's a dwarven outpost named for the ravens who lived there, an ancient species of ravens who were huge and really smart, that the dwarves used to carry messages. So the Easterlings have come. The Easterlings have come here. We're all getting in on it. With the plans to kill the ravens so that the dwarves can't get messages out, and then also smoke the dwarves out of the mountain. So they have built a furnace that they've designed to look like smog, very specifically as an intimidation technique. They really want to come in, scare the bejesus out of the dwarves, fill the mountain with smoke, and then burn it to the ground. So they brought with them a fire grim, and they're essentially engaging in chemical warfare. They've filled the furnace with chemicals, and then the fire grim is burning them and turning them into a noxious smoke, which goes through those pipes and then into the mountain.
Nice. If you need further explanation, just see Hannah's hand signals that she's doing.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Leo. So there's a couple things going on here. This is definitely a heavy coordination raid. And so what you're going to want to do is there are 4 pipes, and the pipes lead into holes in the mountain. And at the end of each pipe is a valve that can be opened and closed. So you need to send teams up there to make sure that the valve is as closed as it can be. Because every 10% of the Grimm's health, every 5% of the Grimm's health, he is going to blow smoke into these pipes and into the cave. So when that happens, you're going to want to make sure that the valves are as closed as they can be. And there's a lockout after you close it, so you have to have somebody else there with you to close it again. And then they will reopen on a timer, so you have to stay on top of them and make sure they're staying closed.
So what's...
While you're all... Go ahead.
What's a good site? Like, how many times can you do that? Is it the 2 of us good, or are people going to want to send 3 people up to get it as closed as possible, or?
So it takes 2... You have to close it twice to get it as closed as possible.
Okay.
But you're going to have groups of ads that are up there as well, guarding them.
Yeah.
So small teams of 2 folks aren't necessarily going to be able to clear it out and do that.
Okay.
You're going to have to balance that out.
Well, yeah, probably.
In addition, assuming, right, the players, these are elite mobs with 25k health and so on, so they're not going to be pushovers. Additionally, you're going to have to handle, kind of the conditions on the ground. So the Grim itself has a really nasty aura that hurts melee characters. So your up close and personal fighters aren't necessarily going to want to fight the Grim. But when the Grim gets to a certain health threshold, a fire tender is going to come out to kind of bring it back up and maintain it. The Jenga fire tender is very resistant to ranged attacks, so you're going to want to swap your melee folks in to fight that character. So you're going to have this back and forth play of, the melee folks coming off of the valves and the ranged folks going up there and so on.
On challenge mode, you essentially have to get it perfect, where every time the Grim blows smoke into the pipes, you have all 4 valves as closed as they can be.
And you guys have just about lost the whole encounter, actually, but going up the smoke there.
Yeah, so that red bar is going to show you how much smoke is filling the cave. Dwarves are pretty hardy, so they can take a little bit of poisonous smoke, but only so much. And then the other thing there is going to be the timer. There's a 25-minute timer on this raid for both tiers.
Yeah.
So apparently the magic number to kill dwarves is 200 units of smoke.
Yes.
I'll keep that in mind.
And the challenge mode is to only let 20 units of smoke into the cave.
Oh, wow. Well, next
So
time
think of
I'm
those
trying to
numbers
build
on
a dwarf apocalypse machine, I will remember that. 200 units of smoke.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Right.
If we'd been building it in New England this week, we would have just had snow. But
So now I'm noticing that the red bar is going down as well. Is that possible that it can go up and down during the encounter? Or is that just in this particular build?
We failed and reset it.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, because no, it's not.
Yeah.
you would have just failed.
I'm just trying to trigger the fire dying down visual for your video, but it doesn't work so well when I admin him.
Do you guys have any questions about the mechanics? I know there's a lot going on. You know, it's a complicated raid.
It seems to be good because there's a lot going on, but none of it seems to be the kind of thing that you have to really like. It's makes sense. It all makes sense. That's what I'm going for. You know, so although it is complicated mechanics, it's not like, you know, you have to jump up and down on one leg, you know, spinning clockwise, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's our third raid.
Spoilers.
So no, the good thing about the third raid is that you get to choose which legs you hop up and down on. So we'll get to that in a second.
Is the reward getting to see the video of Sapiens' beard getting shaved?
It will be for you. Okay, so if you have enough of this, I'll shut it down and we'll head to the last
So
one.
we can make that the intro screen to the third raid.
There you go. You know, that would be a whole reason right there to bring YouTube videos into the Lord of the Rings Online client, just to see that.
That's true.
I'm sure there would be no complaints about the lore.
Oh, come on.
All right, so
People never make
final-
comments about the lore. Everybody's just happy with anything that you do.
You hear that
the
quiet
final
laughter?
raid here is Battle for Erebor. So this actually, we've jumped now to the end of the siege. The ring at this point, actually where the story is, has been destroyed. And it took a while, but the word of the ring's destruction has reached both sides of this war up here in Dale or in Erebor. And so the Easterlings are teetering on the edge of defeat. There's no big bad evil anymore, and so they, you know, who do they work for? So we are going to try to put that last defeating blow against their army. And so what we're going to do is we're going to challenge their two greatest champions to a fight. But it's sort of like saying, I could beat you, and I could beat you with my arm tied behind my back, because we're going to be able to pick the terms of the fight, and the terms are all going to be disadvantageous to us. And so it's a pick your poison fight. And there's six terms of battle that we can choose from. On tier 1, we have to choose 2. On tier 2, we choose 4. And for challenge mode, you have to choose all 6. So once you get out there, there are 6 banners down on the first platform. And they represent the 6 terms of battle that we can choose. There are 3 that come into play in the first phase of the fight, and they are Honor Guard. And Honor Guard just means that the 2 Ologhai champions start with 8 extra Easterlings on their side. So it definitely makes the start of the battle a lot harder, but it gets easier over time. And then the second one is Blood Brothers. And Blood Brothers means that for every 1% of the 2 Ologhai differ in health, they each get a 25% damage boost. And those stack, so you can kind of imagine how that goes if you're not really, really careful. The third one is Blood Rage, and for every 5% of health that they lose, both of them get a 100% damage boost for 20 seconds. Then in phase 2, we have 2 other, phase 2 of the fight, we have 2 terms. One is Reinforcements, which is that ads get added every 30 seconds. And the other is catapults, where the whole arena gets pelted in catapults. You'll see that there's tiles, and they'll light up right before a catapult's going to hit. You really want to avoid them. They'll do a fair amount of damage, and they'll also stun you for 6 seconds. And then the final turn starts in phase 3 of the fight, and this is my favorite. It's called Inferno, and we just light the entire platform on fire.
Nice.
There's nowhere to hide, and the fire causes you to lose 5% of your health every 3 seconds.
I think he's boosting that to 10. So.
Is he really?
Yeah. People
All
are
right.
complaining it was too easy.
Wow. All right, so 10% of your health every 3 seconds.
We'll see how it goes.
So I say for challenge mode, we go all 6. So you can kind of see everything out there.
Now, can anybody pick those, or is it only the leader of the party, or?
Anybody in the group can pick them,
Okay.
I believe. So, communicate with who you're traveling with.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't coordinate before you even get into the fight, I worry once you get in here. And, the thing is, on Tier 1, you can really tailor your choices to the strengths and weaknesses of your group.
On the other hand, when you're on, challenge mode and you have to do all 6 of them, as you might imagine, Blood Rage and Blood Brothers really don't play nicely together.
No.
Because you basically have to keep them at the same health to minimize their damage, but the goal of Blood Rage is to only bring one down at a time, otherwise they're both attacking 100% damage buff.
Right.
So either way, you're in trouble. They're both getting massive damage boosts.
So would you suggest one particular set of conditions for first time players in the raid?
It's really all about what you're bringing to the table, what your skills are, and who your group is. So if you feel like you have good control in the first pull, for example, you might choose Honor Guard, so you can pick up those Jangavar and manage them. If you have really good healing and strong kind of burst DPS, you might choose Inferno for the end, because that's going to be a race to survive at the very end of the battle.
Right.
If you have really good coordination, Blood Brothers is a nice one, because you can keep both of them fairly even. But then you have to keep keeping them within, you really want to keep them optimally within 1% or less of each other in terms of health.
Yeah.
So you'll see catapults started.
But, it's very easy to see, the way these damage boosts stack, to see those bosses hitting for 20,000 or more.
Keep moving down.
Minstrel healers watching this video, I'm sure, will look at all our health bars, and their heart rate will be somewhat elevated as we play through this.
Yes, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Let's just get it to Inferno, and then we'll see the real fun.
Yeah.
So all this, of course, is still in beta and still being, tweaked and added.
There we go.
So there really is nowhere to hide.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Hey, we did it! All right, high fives all around for us.
And high fives for admin powers.
Well, I will say that player feedback on Bull Roar is a huge part of the reason that we go there and do this testing and really makes the difference between something that's, you know, a good in concept and it plays pretty well and something that's balanced for the player base that's out there and gets excited to go in and push the boundaries.
Right,
yeah, like something like...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something like the, you know, the Inferno and how much health it takes away. You know, when we say 5% every 3 seconds, that sounds so much, like so much.
Yeah.
But if we're getting feedback in Bull Roar that it's, you know...
Our healers are saying that's not enough stress.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, push the boundaries.
Exactly.
Okay.
Minstrels want to be more stressed. Got it.
Yeah, no, that's the great thing about the testing, right? You got players that are in there that want to be in there and that are really the high-end players, so they can get through this content and they can chew it up and spit it out sometimes, I'm sure, and ask you to give them more.
Right. And we also get the feedback about folks who come in. For example, the first of those, the Flight from Lonely Mountain raid, was a bit too tough on Tier 1 for, you know, entry raids. So we wanted to make sure that we balance that out so it's more approachable.
Yeah.
Now, will there be first stage symbols dropping in these in-game chests here?
There won't be right here, just because this is the loot in here is not the final what we're going to give. But yeah, we are adding first stage weapons, and we're also adding a new way to get them. If you get through these 3 raids on Tier 1 and you do not get one, you can earn the right to buy them at skirmish camps for seals.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the second age weapons.
Is that deed-locked behind finishing all 3 of the raids?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to finish them all on Tier 1 in order...
At level 85.
At level 85, thank you.
Okay.
To do that.
Will those be
and
in
then,
the loot boxes as well?
So there's going to be some barter items. What else do we add? We're changing a little bit the way that we give away stuff. So the different clusters are going to specialize. So if you're looking for, you know, gear to tank, for instance, you might find different pieces of gear in different raids, clusters. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know another question that we got from our listeners was looking at the future, and I know that when we last talked, Aaron, you had you mentioned that there wasn't really anything on the drawing boards at this point for mounted.
We're getting that end mount, though. It's coming soon.
What's that?
That end mount. It's in our next update. It's coming soon.
No, that's my next question. You got ahead of me.
It's in this update.
Well, it's hidden in this update. You have to go through the. It's kind of like the old Jedi unlock in Star Wars Galaxies. You know, if you get the right combination of bosses in the right sequence, the right places in the world, and reset and play through multiple classes, then maybe it'll unlock for you.
Yeah. If you 100% everything in the game, it unlocks.
That's it.
There we go. So we have confirmation, everyone. End mount. No, but you heard it here first. Mounted raids. Is there anything started to be talked about yet? Last time we talked, it was wasn't really in the plans at that point. It's a few months later now.
Sure.
Anything changed?
Not right now. No. We have a lot more to talk about. I think we've already started talking about our next region.
Mm-hmm.
Which is coming out in update 11. And Epic Book is continuing, and more Rohan, and all that good stuff. But no, I don't have any news on mounted raids. We have more mounted combat content, definitely.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. It was a great producer's letter from Kate talking about sort of the plans for the coming year. I think for me, it was really interesting to see so much information, which doesn't always come out in the producers' letters.
Sure.
You know, we're looking at all the different stuff for the rest of Rohan. She mentioned Helm's Deep that was coming up.
Yep.
That's just really, really exciting. So, I mean, how hard is it as we're talking about this content now, and you've got all this other stuff that's just bubbling up that players are salivating about? How hard is it to keep that quiet?
Well,
And if it's
I'm
too
really
hard, you can
practiced at
speak
it, so
here.
it's not that hard for me.
Yeah.
But it's always that challenge, and Chris and Jason, I think both of you know, right? That when we do these interviews, I'm always working on the next update, the update after that.
Right.
All right, when we have this conversation, and so I'm talking about something that we built 3 months in the past,
Yeah.
and talking about it like it's today because we're launching it pretty soon today. But everything that I'm actually working on is, a whole other update or two beyond that already.
Yeah.
And Kate wouldn't have had the confidence to kind of put it out and put it front and center from the players if we weren't a good ways into it already. Because we like to, be able to keep those commitments. That's part of what makes us hesitant sometimes to talk about things in too much detail.
Now, there was a little bit of backlash, and I know we talked about this as well, with the splitting of the instances from Rohan with the delays. Are you making changes in the way that you're developing so that if you're following the same cycle and you look at similar content releases this year, are you confident that you've made some changes and hopefully this is something that you can avoid happening again?
Oh, goodness. So I can't go too deep in. We have really significant instance plans for Rohan, the next Rohan, right? And I think Kate's already talked about Helm's Deep a bit, but that's almost a whole other topic that we'll have to get into as we do more announcements about it.
Okay, cool. But you guys have you guys? I'm trying to approach this gently, but I think it's better just to get right to the point. You had a lot of players mad with delays and all that sort of stuff. Have you guys changed anything internally to try and be a little bit less? What's the word I'm looking for? Less susceptible to something comes up, you have to bump the release back a little bit, or was it just something that was so unexpected you can't really prepare for that?
So it's a mix of the two, right? One is being able to plan well. The other is getting that creative process right. Sometimes you just find things in the way. So a lot of the energy that went into say mounted combat in the last year is going to be going into instance space in the next year. And there's going to be a lot of focus. So I'm not really concerned about not having that content available when we go out with our next major release. I think we're going to pull that together. I don't think it always comes out the way players expect it exactly. I think we're constantly kind of growing our design and evolving and changing it. So I hope it's cool and better and players really enjoy it. But we're making good plans, and I think I'm very confident with them.
Cool. Speaking of instances, another completely different question. I know that at least on our server, there's not a lot of use of the looking for group tool, looking for fellowship tool. And I personally, I'm surprised by that. I really like it. I really like how it's designed. I know some other people disagree with me, but are you looking at any ways to incentivize that even more, or is it just something you've put out there? You think it's a great product, and if people aren't using it, there's not much you can do about it?
Well, I think our first focus is actually to make sure people enjoy the content, regardless of how they get there. So we're focusing on the loot that's in the instances. We're focusing on scaling more content. We want you to have a whole range of choices at level cap of things you can do. And then, as Hannah was talking about, incentivizing that, breaking out specific pieces you can get in more places, introducing more sort of, orange, legendary types of items that are specific to each class. So there's cool things you can find and go get in different places. Continuing to introduce new tiers of raid armor like we are with this cluster, so you can go out in the world and play through that content, but you don't have to play through these raids over and over again. Once you've finished them and gotten those unlocks, you can also go play other content and earn your seals and buy them.
Cool. And I think the big question here is, do we have a release date yet for update 10?
Do we?
We do not.
We do not. Well, as we've been talking about, we're in beta, so we have another update tomorrow, and then we're going to need to take the world down later this week. But I want to get that testing wrapped up and get it to the quality we want.
Okay.
And then we'll set a date for it.
Very exciting. Lots of stuff coming up. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Layanor? Before we...
No, that's about it.
Very exciting.
Okay.
Looking forward to getting into this content in the live client. It's going to be fun.
Good,
Oh, yeah.
good.